So let's get right to the review. You know what I mean? Initial impressions, we're going to go all the way around. Now I'm going to start with the Queen of New York and the boss of Puerto Rico, in whom you must pay tribute to pass by the country. Iris, what was your initial impressions?
I like how you emphasized on initial. Initial impression is I was, excited to watch it. I like Ghostbusters. I thought Afterlife was cute, so I was excited to see, where they were going with it in the next one.
Okay. Hey. All right, Dad Panther. Where we at with it, player? Initial impressions.
Initial impressions. Watching this, that's initially where I was. And I don't know where I went mentally with that. My initial impression was I enjoyed the first reboot or whatever they had, which was the all ladies that fizzled out, and then getting ready to watch this one from Afterlife, which I enjoyed. I was going in, let's continue what we're building for the next generation of Busters. So initially I just wanted a good movie that had all the right feels.
And Mr. Eddie, initial impression.
Initially, I was not excited about this. I had issues with Afterlife, and I was very worried, but I knew that we were still going to review it.
Thank you. Somebody in this panel was actually honest today. I have zero excitement for this film. This looked like some bullshit, sounded like some bullshit, and smelled like some bullshit. Yep. And the reason why I knew it was going to be some bullshit is because that cup right there, anytime they ramp up that merch and salacious bullshit that has nothing to do with the film, shows me that, this ain't going to do well. We got to find a way to goddamn get this bankroll back up after we done dumped 200 mil into this some bitch. So, you know what I mean? That's what my initial impressions were. Now, who wants to start? I mean, unless you want me to start, which I have no problem doing, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to influence the panel with my dribble. But if you guys can hold your constitution, I'd be more than willing to give it out.
Please, sir, go ahead and give your review.
Right. Hold on. Hey, y'all can please step to the side so your boy may take center stage. So as it is, ladies and gentlemen, I have come to you this evening to talk about this film, Frozen Pancakes. Ghostbusters Frozen Vegetables. I'm sorry. Well, it's a Ghostbusters movie. So, you know what I'm saying? Wasn't too happy. So I had to go to the theater because there was nothing else out. So I was like, cool, because, I pay for my AMC pass. So, you know what I'm saying? This was another way for me to get my little bit of money back. So I'm in the theater, me and the homie, we just kicking it, me and Fame. You feel me? Just watching a good old movie. It was all right. You feel me? Like, it didn't make that much sense. I love the fact that they tried to put some historical stuff in there, which I think they've done for every film, but it just didn't work. Like the last one, the film was good, not because of the backstory, but because of like the rebooty nature of it and the fact that they're bringing in younger kids. I thought that was great. What I thought they tried to do was let's intermix all the original guys with this new cast so that the fans that weren't happy in the last one would be satisfied. I felt like I could see and feel the hand of the Hollywood all over this film. The bad guy was corny, didn't make sense. A lot of the new rules that they set up for this Ghostbuster world didn't really work. There were certain things that they set up and then completely ignored from scene to scene that I was like, so why did we even set all of this up? In addition to just the story, it was good. I had a fun time. It was fun. And it was scary in certain moments, but I'm not hard to scare. So, don't take my word on that. spikes coming out of the ground and ice. I thought that was kind of corny because if you were going to do that, then that means you should have been impaling thousands of people. But for big, gigantic spikes to come out of the ground and like nobody gets hurt on it, I thought that kind of just, once again, it's just like, why do it if you're not going to commit to it? It's just like you're trying to do something that looks scary, but you're not actually going to make it scary. I feel like you should have downplayed on that goofiness and the whole everything going to freeze and people going to die thing, and played up on making your ghost more scary, or like adding just a lot more ghosts. There weren't, I was, something that I was kind of amazed at is like we focused on maybe one or two ghosts, but I didn't get a barrage of different ghosts like we've seen in the past. This was less of a Ghostbuster film and more of like a busted Indiana Jones kind of like offshoot film with ghosts in it. And I know I don't make any sense, but that's how this film is. The film doesn't make that sense. All right, she says, I can vouch for you not being hard to scare. Thanks, Remy. Appreciate that. So, and Eddie, your mic is off. So anyway, with that being said, the highs is it's fun, it's charismatic, it has potential. I saw what they're trying to introduce with the Ghostbusters Corp. I thought, oh, that's slick. Oh, okay, so now you're intermixing the fans, which is the ghost heads. You found a way to connect the fans into the actual film so that you can actually build off the concept. So like, I think Ghost Corp is dope. Let me give you a reason why. Because now you can take it national. Now you can have Ghostbusters New York. I mean, you already got Ghostbusters New York. You can have Ghostbusters LA. You can have Ghostbusters Atlanta. And now you can start bringing in all of these different titular characters that have all of their own unique skill sets. You'll have the Ghostbuster crossbow mixed with the Ghostbuster swords. And you know what I mean? So I was like, man, that's a dope idea. But once again, I think they flubbed the introduction of it because it was such a like, if you're not paying attention, you'll totally miss the Ghostbusters Corp concept. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't really come back to it and they didn't really build off of it. They just kind of let it be a background thing. And I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity. I definitely felt like bringing in all of the old schoolers, we didn't need them. It wasn't necessary. So like, that's a down. I felt like it might have been a little bit too long. The final fight was kind of corny and it just ended and it wasn't all that cute. And I didn't watch did I watch the post credits? I think I did. And even if there was something, who cares? So like, yeah, that's mine and I'm done. And back to you guys. Who's going next?
I'll go next.
Yay!
So I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was cute for what it was. But I would say I do have some low points on it. So I feel like the bad guy that they chose, I feel like it was too early to bring in such a character. I feel like he should have been like a boss level character, and like with the movies that they're trying to make for this, that should have been a movie that we lead up to with the big ice guy, so, and that there was more of a battle to it. In my opinion, I feel like that's the direction they should have went in instead of just giving us the big bad so quickly in, technically the second movie of, Ghostbusters reboot. Another part that I wasn't 100% crazy about is when they try to involve more magic, I would say, into this movie with Kumail. I always forget how to pronounce that gentleman's name. I know his first name is like Kumail. Having fire powers. And then it's like, you barely know how to use it. And like within an hour, all of a sudden you can do like this big fire stream to destroy, like I just felt like they try to put too much in this one little movie. And I feel like it should have been built up in waves, with movies, and that they're all connected in some way. And then finally, the big bad is like the last movie they decide to make. Um, I do like that they introduced their little Ghost Corp. I feel like that was a missed opportunity though, because it's something fairly new that they're introducing into the storyline. And it had so much more potential. Um, and there wasn't a lot of ghosts. They stayed to just a couple here and there. Even when there's a point where we should see a ton of them running around, they only showed you like two. It just it didn't blend well. Um, but I mean, for what it was, I mean, I still enjoyed it. There were still points that I was like, oh, that's so cool, blah blah blah. And I like the Marshmallow Men, so I think they're funny and cute. Um, but I feel like this movie had a lot of missed opportunities and storylines that I think were brought in too early. For highs, um, I to go back to the magic. I like that they want to incorporate magic. I just don't like how they try to throw it in there so quickly. I feel like there should have been more of a build up for that. Once again, in waves, throughout many movies, maybe. Um, and I mean, I liked all of the cast. I actually really loved that they brought a lot of the old cast members in, and we got I did miss that this gentleman, I forget his name, from Honey I Shrunk the Kids, couldn't be there. I wish he would have been in the movie. I would have loved to have seen him. Um, but I think he's teaching now. Anyway. Um, and that's really just about it. I mean, I did enjoy the movie, but I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities in this movie that they made.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. All right, Eddie. Eddie, it's your go, and we're gonna let Dad Panther clean it on up at the end.
So, I want to say that everything that you guys both, especially JS1, everything that you pointed out, it was actually very accurate. So I'm not gonna repeat a lot of those things. But I'm gonna say that highs were some of the nods that they were bringing in. I actually liked that they were back in the city. That was one of the problems I had with Afterlife. With which also. It was Afterlife was so focused on the story, and it didn't feel Ghostbusters to me. I knew they were trying to give us this reboot, trying to give us some nods, but this felt being back in the city. This felt Ghostbusters to me, so that was a high for me. And I had some moments where I laughed, um, and I thought that there was a lot of potential that I was seeing as a high, but lows for me, despite the thing, other than the things that was already mentioned, I really don't like the way that they write the dynamic, which Hollywood in general, when they write kids and they write parents, they just make everybody so stupid, and it just really bothers me. And that was the biggest problem I had with Afterlife. They wouldn't be where they are without this girl's passion in her mind, and they weren't giving her that respect. I understand she's 15. And then in the digital age, they didn't take advantage of that. Some of the things that they were encountering in public, or it's not popping up on news or cell phones, so they're being criticized by the mayor and all these other people, or they're jumping on her because of something was damaged. But like, it should have been footage everywhere of how that was necessary. It was self-defense, whatever, and they just kind of ignored the fact that we're in this current digital age, and I felt like they should have been more creative if they wanted to create conflict, and that's what bothers me most about the last one and this one. They just forget things, and then they just make the kids and the parents, the dynamic, they're dumb. The kids are dumb. Some of the things that she did because of emotions, because of her getting emotional attachment, I get that. We all do stupid stuff when we think we're falling in love. Okay, so I let that slide, but for the most part, it was just consecutive moments of stupid parent, smart kid. Oh, now stupid kid, smart parents, and there was no. It just no balance to me. It was just like, let's just find a way to make drama so we can get to the certain point in the story. And then I do want to reiterate that the big bad, it was like JS once said, if you're not going to do it a certain way, then don't even introduce it. And I was really bothered how all the spikes conveniently just came close to impaling people. How people who had their hand frozen to the point where it broke off, they're just wearing a sling later, like, oh, it'll thaw. You know what I'm saying? It'll thaw. So and then the whole corporation itself, they're taking this whole facility to enhance what they can do. We had this story in the cartoons before, so I was hoping that they were going to take more from it, but they didn't. And they just came up with this great answer of, I'm not going to say what, but it just fixed everything just like that. And the way it fixed everything, well, it didn't fix everything, but it just fixed that situation just like that. And I thought it was just the weakest writing. And that's all I got.
No, 1,000%, sir. I agree, boss. I agree. As sure as that there are butt cheeks shaking behind me, Dad Panther is going to clean sweep this review like none other in the business. Sir, take it away.
What we'll do is we'll start with the. I got a list right here, so we'll start with the highs. I feel like with this movie, they found a rhythm, like Lingo mentioned earlier. Afterlife was a slower pace. The setting was different and it had the feels, but it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters. This one felt like Ghostbusters. It had the rhythm of the jokes, of what you saw visually, the music. It felt like a summertime blockbuster. It felt like a movie that was a nod or close to the 80s and what they were doing. When they had the Ghost Corp to grow the brand, that was like plus and negative, because you wanted them to do it the right way, and it seems like they were trying to, but they were still missing the mark. And we see this over and over again with this, because they cleaned up stuff on the timeline, not just for this movie but other Ghostbusters movies, adding some factual stuff as if they were the Marvel universe. And there's too many movies that are building up this thing like it's deserving to have end credits, or you're supposed to connect these nuggets. But it's once again the same thing where you're doing these callbacks so much they're not impactful. You know, you're seeing some of the same callbacks that you saw in Afterlife. That was a nod to the 80s films. You're doing some of these same situations now, bringing these characters back, and they're meaningless. So those are the pros. The cons would be, even though they found a rhythm to be similar to the 80s, their pacing was off. The jokes missed. Like Lingo said before, it makes sense because it's like, why do they make these I guess issues with parents where the parents can't relate to the kid? And I get that happens, but they were fine with the stepdaughter, give or take your direction, with her being who she was until the mayor had a conversation. Like, that's your seed. That's somewhat like, you just went to bat for her in the previous. So for this one, you're all for it. You hear one conversation and now you're like, I have no faith in you. And now it's got to be awkward teenager thing. The other thing was, like, there was no real boss. Like you said, they built up this boss. They said this boss murdered and killed and did XYZ only for it not to happen. The characters, even the OG characters, are forgettable. Unfortunately, they're forgettable. There's nothing that makes you leave the theater saying, you, especially after the documentary we watch, that to me says that you inspired a generation or somebody to wear your, costume at Comic-Con or just chilling at the house eating Blue Moon milk. But I just look at the fact that some of the stuff that I saw that would have been interesting was, this movie was $100 million to make. They've already made 45. I'm pretty sure, unless it's a dud the next few weeks, they're going to recoup their money. I don't know how marketing works, but they should recoup. There's a Netflix show on the horizon. They already have 2 to 3 movie scripts that they're almost done with. Their plan is to push out more Ghostbusters movies and pass the baton. And I felt like this was a horrible, I don't want to say horrible, it was a bad attempt. They dropped it. They dropped their trap right here. They didn't have it set up. They slid it out there. It wasn't connected. It was just a hit and miss from it. Some of the other call outs or things that I had on it was, like I said, Afterlife had the feels. This one didn't have the feeling, but it had the rhythm. So they just can't figure out how to get it right. It would be cool if they went the direction of maybe, like, pick a lane. Either you're rated R and you're raunchy, or you're PG-13. Mm-hmm. One of the two. You can't do both, because it makes an issue in the theater. It makes an issue once you watch it streaming, whatever the case is. It's like you have the ability, in my opinion, to have the Busters kind of be different people every movie. And I like the conversation about, putting on a big city. Pick another city. You brought in the Corp. The conversation could just be, it doesn't have to be like Stranger Things. Not everything's going to hit lightning multiple times. Let it be a different crew. Let them deal with what they're dealing with. Maybe they don't have proton packs. Maybe they're doing some other, like some of the video games you see the kids play. Maybe something rated R where you're like, hey, this is not for the kids. This is wild. But that's what I would say on that one.
Man, thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna make a small point, and we can move on. Or if y'all really want to get into some spoiler talk, we can get into it's on y'all. But I felt like there were three major components that could have been made into their own movies, and one involves the daughter doing something stupid, because they wanted to connect with a certain character. That was because I thought this is fucking great. Like this is about to be deep. And that whole scene, I was like, oh, we're taking Ghostbusters to a different level. And then they just was like, and they snatched you out of that scene, and we back into normal bullshit land. And I'm like, what? No, this was great. Like this, to me, when you're talking about taking Ghostbusters to 2024 and beyond, this was something that I thought was deep and like gripping my seat. And I don't know where we're going next. And I don't know why they flubbed that moment. That's the first one. The second part with like the shop and like you buying up all of these different things, and then even like the overarching story of, and I'm not going to give away the whole movie, but there's just one small premise that was kind of makes it stressful, is that the machine that used to hold all of the ghosts is starting to break down. I honestly thought that was the movie. I was like, yo, this is dope. And maybe the nigga that you saw in the commercial was going to come out of that tank and be pissed off because he's been stuck in that motherfucker for like, an infinite amount of time that he doesn't know. Because for ghosts, it could have been forever. And then for us, it was just 30, 40 years. So like that was something I was like, oh man, that's a great story too. Oh, we not doing nothing with that. Okay. So then, then you get to the big bad. And like Eddie said, it gets wrapped up so quick. You're like, what the fuck are we doing here? And it's like, you have all of the raw elements with the exception of that stupid thing that the daughter, I don't want to get into, but that stupid shit, that was dumb. I didn't think that was cool at all. And the chess playing in the park, and I'm trying not to give away, but that's so fucking useless. I was like, why are we doing that's Goosebumps level. This is Ghostbusters. This ain't Goosebumps. Like, and that's where I'm like, bro, no, we're greatness. We're legendary. We're like, if you look at Ghostbusters 1 and 2, that ain't no Goosebumps shit. It's Goosebumps-esque, but it's really for adults. It wasn't for children. So you've got adult humor, you've got the romance, you've got all of these things that make a great popcorn theater film. But you dragged it down to this kid's level, and it's just, the movie just completely loses its way. It's like they made the film by committee. You had 6, 7, 8 people at the table all writing, and they're all throwing stuff in, and whoever's in charge is going, yeah, let's just put it all in. Let's put it all in there, and then we'll figure it out while we're shooting. And then they shot so much stuff that in the editing bay, this guy's smoking 20 packs of cigarettes a day, trying to figure out this fucking hodgepodge of shit, and he just strung it all together and rolled it out, man. And I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I was so excited. There are so many moments that I actually was like, yo, we about to get some real shit. Ooh, this is, wait a minute. What are you doing? Oh, yo, you got me back. And he was like, and by the end of the film, I'm just frustrated because I'm like, you have so much good potential and you're wasting it because I don't know. I I be honest with you? I don't know if we're trying to make this for the kids, or do we want to bring the adults back? I don't even know what your purpose is at this point. I feel like they've even lost themselves in this. And because we're at this time period, it was like, we got to put it out. We've dumped so much money and the summer's coming. We don't have time to drop this in the summer, and we don't want to wait a whole nother year to drop it because we've already spent a couple $1 million on promotion. But this was a big miss on my part, and it had the potential to be 3 actually great films, to be honest with you, if they had just focused in and built off of what they had. You know what I mean? All right, and if anybody else wants to add on or tell me I'm wrong, I'm totally fine with being wrong.
The story with the whole contained unit being, having an issue, that was the big arc on the cartoon, and they told that story. It was phenomenal. I felt like the source material was there. You just had to modernize it, and they just abandoned it and wrapped it up real quick.
Yeah,
and so I'm with you on that. That was for me. I got excited when I was like, okay, they're going to go this route, and I'm thinking to myself, either this is going to leave us where we're going to be, wanting more. There's going to be another movie, or we're about to get some real crazy events in the next 30, 40 minutes, and then they just kind of just left it there.
And you could have taken, I'm sorry, Iris, but you could have taken Eddie's idea and gave every Ghostbuster a body cam. And you could have gave them glasses, because now they got the Google glasses now and all these glasses, and you could have made a game out of it. You could have used this for them to see the ghost in the joint. You could have translated that into a VR game. Everybody's got VR goggles now. You could have easily ran that into a multi-billion-dollar franchise off of that, but you dropped the ball on that because none of y'all are thinking. Y'all are sleeping with little kids and doing cocaine, and nothing is getting done like it should be. And then all y'all, all right, I'm sorry, too far. My bad.
No diddy.
Iris, take it away. I'm sorry.
No, Dan Schneider is more like it.
Yeah, for real.
Jesus Christ. But no, I agree with what you guys are saying in regards. Like, there were so many missed opportunities. That's what I'm saying. Like, they tried to throw so many different storylines together, but they didn't.
Keep focused, Iris. Don't worry about them. Keep talking. I'm listening.
I'm like, what the hell is that? And that was my only problem. Like, I felt like they were trying to throw different stories together and just like, all right, let's get the duct tape and let's tape this bitch together. And yeah, it was just too many different things being thrown into one. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, the Frozen guy should have been like the big boss, and that each of the storylines from all the movies should have just led up eventually to him in his own big ass movie.
Mm-hmm.
With more fighting, and that the impaling is implied, because I know they don't want to make this movie gory, of course not.
Right.
But at least it's implied, like, oh, people are dying. They're not showing it to us, but we know these motherfuckers are dying, and that's because he needs more souls to control to build his army.
Genius. Awesome. See, hire her to do stuff. All right, Dad Panther, you can scream at me now.
I don't want to scream at you, Lizana. Lingo, you gonna say something?
I was just about to say, don't forget to unmute yourself, because you be sometimes muting yourself and we can't see it. That's what I thought was about to happen.
No.
All right. Remy Rouge said, petition to make a sleepy time sound on my Alexa, but it's just Dad Panther giving very eloquently put movie reviews. 10.
Well, thank you very much.
That olive oil voice.
Thank you very much.
Tell y'all, man. Tell y'all. All right, it's that time. It's that time. We're gonna do the reviews, real reviews. Classic, good watch, catch on streaming, not doing it for me. Oh hell no! Or if you ever show me this ever again, I will slap the crap out of you. Iris has gone. So we're gonna Dad Panther. What is your
wait, did you get rid of her? What?
No,
what do you mean she's gone?
I don't know.
She backed up.
Yeah. All right. What's your rating, sir? Is it a classic good watch, catch on streaming, not doing it for me? Oh hell no! Or if you ever show me this again, I will. All right. So what's your review, sir?
She's back.
And she's back just that fast.
I'm sorry. You know I have a child.
Just kick it to her.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Dad Panther.
Oh, okay. All right. So this movie, I think collectively, you go back and watch it. I think we're all saying some of the same thing. The part that I'll chime in before I give my rating is the fact that I would have enjoyed this more had the setup made sense. And when you think of whether it's the cartoon, whether it's the old school movies, there is a way you catch ghosts. You got to find said ghosts. You got to come up with a strategy of how you're going to hit them with the energy. And then you're trying to find creative ways to get them in the trap. That's how it works. And everybody goes home and they think they're great and they feel good. But to watch this movie, to spend hard-earned money on this movie, when I'm sitting here thinking to myself, we could have done a motherfucking act 1 where we could have let the fans know what the vibe was. Are we 13 years old watching this? It's not for the adults? Or we going a little further? Because again, you got the sweet spot, which is like, I don't know, Stranger Things. It does a great job of being in the both, like, because it gets the young people, gets the old people, gets the feels, all the other stuff. So the first act, you could have sat there and gave us the vibe. The second act is right there. Lingo mentioned it earlier. You could sit there and give us, hey, all the ghosts are out. Now you can give us a montage of some of the ghosts, and you sit there and you can give us a slight little backstory. Like, I'll just give you a little something like the slimy guy, Slimer, whatever. He was originally a gangster. He kills a person at a restaurant for fucking up the order. That's how he becomes who he is. But now you go to the newer movies, he's the lovable slime guy who eats a bunch of fucking food. But we could have spread this out like a montage. We could have reminisced and grabbed some ghosts old and new, like the Titanic. All this shit could have been there. Act 2 could have sent you where you have new busters all over the world sitting here and they're recruiting and they're grabbing all this other stuff. And now you got the song coming back. You sitting there, everybody dancing. They're doing the little dance. You could have gave us that. You fucked on that one. Could have gave us an Act 3, right? The Act 3 could have gave us the big baddie that you've been showing us from the first movie, the vibe. The second movie, hey, all these ghosts that he's sitting there ringing out and all these busters are trying to do it, and you're sprinkling in some cameos that are nice. You're sprinkling in the new crew that you brought in, and now you got some of the young ones that are out and about. And then you sit there and you put a nice bow on it and you make it meaningful, where maybe certain characters, OG and new, they don't make it. They don't make it. They pass on. Maybe they're a fucking ghost and they came over and they're going to help you out at the last second. Whatever the case is, you fucked it. Regardless if there is more coming out from Netflix or there's other movies that come out, you're missing a point where right now there's just so much to watch. So even with me saying all that, I was acting, but the points were valid. But I would say this is catch it on streaming.
That was a long way around Robin Hood's barn, but sir, I appreciate it. Iris, what's your rating?
I would have to agree with Dad Panther. I'm going to say catch it on streaming as well. I still feel like there was so much potential in this movie with so many different storylines that they tried to combine into one, and it kind of left the movie all over the place. I mean, I still enjoyed the movie, but when it came to the writing, they really fell off. It really fell off with this one.
Got you. All right. Eddie. Well, we at Big Dog.
So being a fan of the franchise, I really, really wanted to like this movie. I walked out of there trying to convince myself to like this movie, but I'm going to have to give it a not doing it for me.
Shot off the port bow. I would also like to say, God, I really want to say catch on streaming. I really do, but it's not doing it for me. I'm just gonna have to be honest. There were too many times where they really could have ignited my childhood fandom, and they totally missed it. And I don't want to keep rehashing. You guys have so eloquently laid everything out and have spelled it out. And the only thing I can tell you guys is, watch at your leisure. If you would like to go to the theater, go to the theater, and jump in the comments and tell us how you feel. What's your rating? Do you agree or do you not agree?